Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates Season 2, Episode 56. Now, before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. All right, so I'm sorry, yeah. So today's episode was a very familial episode. If that You'll see what I'm talking about. But it was also a good episode. I didn't have any complaints about this episode. So we start the episode off with Anita and Vernon, and they are still at the hospital, but Anita's feeling better. Ashley comes in and she tells them that they can be discharged, that she's about to be discharged, and she's going to walk her through her next steps or whatever. So we find out that the reason why Anita was in so much pain was because she had an infection, which caused all of this. And because, again, she is going through chemo, her immune system is down, so she's liable to get infections now more than ever. So Ashley is telling her, you're on antibiotics, so everything is doing better, and the antibiotics is fighting the infection now. So Ashley tells her to rest, and if she feels anything, she feels weird about anything, to make sure to call the doctor. So Anita is now at home and she's on the phone. She's on the phone and she is telling someone to come meet her at the house. She's telling them to come meet her at the house and not to tell Vernon. So Vernon comes in and he tells her that she has a visitor and it's Sharon. So they're gonna catch up. She sends Vernon to go on his squash game because he normally has a standing squash game at this time. But he was just like, no, I can, I can stay. And she was just like, no, you can go. Sharon is here for me. I'm gonna be okay. So he was just like, all right. So he leaves, and Anita and Sharon are, catching up. She wants to know how the tour is doing, and she wishes that she would have went on tour with them. Had she known that this was going to happen, she would have went on tour with them sooner. But Sharon understands because her family needed her at the time that they were going to go on tour. So she says that once she says that she's going to reach out to Devon about recording an album for the Articulates incorporating Barbara's voice when and if she gets into remission. So Sharon is happy, and she has faith that Anita is going to go get through this. So the doorbell rings and Sharon is just like, oh, you want me to get that? She was just like, no, I had already asked for somebody to come before I knew you were here, and we need to talk in private. Can you, um, just give me a minute and don't tell Vernon? And she was just like, well, since when did y'all start keeping secrets? And she was just like, I remember a secret that was kept during Christmas. She was just like, touche. So Sharon leaves and she goes upstairs to their she's gonna go and play in Anita's closet. So we find out that the person that Anita had called was Bill, um, and she wants to update her will and her trust or whatever, but she doesn't want Vernon to be there for that. Um, and he doesn't know why Vernon can't be there for this, and she tells him she doesn't know what the future holds and she doesn't want to put Vernon through what her mortality holds. So we see Isaiah, and he is meeting his mom Darlene at Orphe Jeans, and she's so pretty. I like this actress. I'm so happy we have met Darlene. We have been hearing about her, and we have finally met her, and I am so excited. So she wants to talk to him about she's happy to see him or whatever. And he was just like, oh, I feel like, this is you're here to talk to me about something. And she was just like, yeah, me and your father, we have some questions. And she was just like, your father has been telling me that you're being rushed down the aisle by the woman that you're the mother of the woman that you're seeing, this Eva girl. And she wants to know if he's ready to marry someone that he's only been dating for 5 minutes. He tells her that he put a stop to it, and He's surprised that she doesn't want to settle down. She's surprised. He's surprised that she doesn't want him to settle down. He thought that she would want him to, settle down like Jacob. And she was just like, I want you to get married someday, and I want you to get married when you meet the right girl. And he was just like, well, how do you know that Eva's not the right girl? And she tells him, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the criminal tree. And she ain't lying, because you may hate, you can act like it's not true, and you can hate it all you want, but she is in fact a criminal just like her mama. She is an accessory after the fact, and that is criminal behavior. Sorry. So he tells her, um oh yeah, so she says that, and she'll just like, the PD has been looking into Leslie for over a year now. And she's an attempted, the word, she attempted offer. There we go. She's an attempted offer or whatever. Um, he tells her, Eva isn't like Leslie. Darlene tells him, you may like to forget it, but this family is law enforcement through and through, and it would be better for him to find. It would be better for him to find a woman from a law abiding family. And I was just like, I'm gonna have to take up for Eva there for a second, because Jacob is married to Naomi, and he had to arrest his mother-in-law. So eh, she ain't that law abiding either. So I gotta take up for Eva on that one. Completely understand that. Sorry. Um, he wants to know why she's always down on Eva, and she hasn't met her. And he tells her, well, that's his fault. If he wanted her to meet Eva, then he would bring her by the house so that she can meet her. And he says, I don't want to he doesn't want to subject his relationship with Elon onto Eva. And he wants to make her happy, but he isn't going to be just dropping in for Sunday dinners. She tells him it's not that bad, and he brings up the wedding, which I wish they would tell us what happened at the wedding, but if they're not going to show it to us, can you tell it to us? She brings up Christmas. And I had wanted to, what did I want to say at this point? Because he is, he's always chastising Kat about the things of Eva's past, yet he's holding on to this fight that he had with Elon that's in the past. And I'm it's and we'll say this, for they keep talking about Eva and Jacob's wedding, and not Eva, but Naomi and Jacob's wedding, and whatever happened at the wedding that caused this rift, this big old rift. Um, when the show first started, Jacob and Naomi are semi sort of newlyweds. Um, they're like, maybe like a year into their marriage at this point. I'm not really sure how long it's been. Um, but by the time we're rolling around this year, there, because for spoilers or whatever, we find it's about to be Jacob and Naomi's wedding anniversary, which is in April. The show started in March. We didn't see them get married on screen, so they've already been married. So, saying all of this to say, you, Isaiah, are harping on what happened between you and Elon, which is a good 2 or 3 years ago. You're harping on that, and you can't forgive your daddy for that. Yet you want everybody else, everybody and their mama, to forgive Eva for what she did that hasn't even been a year removed. And you're making it seem like everyone should just forget it. And she isn't who she portrayed herself to be not even a year ago. Okay, Isaiah. So, he brings up the wedding, she brings up Christmas. She says, she was happy to have, saw she was there with her two boys, and then Luke, her other son, FaceTiming her. She was happy seeing them happy, and safe, and she wishes she knew when it would happen again. He brings up Jacob being undercover, and she was just like, how do you know? He tells her, Jacob told her, and then he saw him in this sketchy part of town, and she's just like, why was you in that sketchy part of town? Inquiring minds want to know, because I still don't believe that you was there walking through the alley to get some Chinese, but whatever. That's what he tells her. He saw her when he went to go get Chinese. um um she trusts Jacob, but she knows things can go wrong. Isaiah tries to talk her down, but she's still afraid. She talks about how whenever Elon would go on an assignment, she would always give him a hug and then wish him luck, but she didn't get to do that with Jacob. So, it may be superstitious, but that's how she's feeling. So Isaiah says, I may have a way for you to speak with Jacob. We see, let's see, we see Eva and we see Eva, Peaches, and Leslie. They're at the country club. Peaches is feeling better. She's happy that she's living a good life now. Leslie's complaining about losing her money not being. She's complaining about using her money for all that she's using her money, and that it's getting low or whatever. They talk about the clinic that she's doing, and Peaches is just like, that's not like you because you're not selfless. Eva says, she's gotten her heart has grown since her bank account grew, and how she's trying to make amends for all the damages that she's done, that she continues to do, but whatever. Um, Peaches isn't buying it. Eva's still taking up for her. She tells her about Leslie. She tells they changed the subject, and she's telling her about Leslie pushing for her to get married. And Peaches is just like, girl, why are you doing that? And Leslie is just like, well, you said you wanted to see her walk down the aisle. And she was just like, it wasn't a demand. I mean, I want to see it, but it's not like I'm demanding that she does it. Um, and then Leslie is just like, well, you would want her to marry him too if you seen how far you would want her to lock him down too if you seen how far he was or whatever. So Eva shows a picture of her man, my man, my man, my man, which is what she said, and I'm just like, girl, oh child, I give you an inch and then I have to snatch it back. Sorry. Um. Let's see. Oh yeah, so they talk about the clinic some more, and the reasons why Leslie started it, but actually stole it because she didn't have the idea to do it. She stole it from somebody, and then she's not doing this out of the goodness of her heart. She's doing this because she wants to be up there with the Duprees, but whatever. Um, Leslie tells her, she tells Peaches she hates that she ruined their relationship, and she never thanked Peaches for being a mother to her. Peaches tells her, you didn't have to. I just wanted to be a mother, and no matter how annoying you were still worth it. They then start talking about how they used to ooh and ah over the rich people over the rich people indulging on stuff that they would see on TV. Um, Oh yeah, because they had ordered Leslie ordered caviar. Peaches didn't like it, and Leslie was just like, yeah, I don't like it either. That's when they talk about how they used to ooh and all over the rich people indulging or whatever. So Leslie says she wants to treat Peaches to a spa date, and then Eva sees Vernon walking by, and then Leslie sees him too, um, and she tells Eva to schedule the spa appointment for Peaches, and she has to go do something. So Peaches wants to know Peaches wants to know what's going on, and Eva's just like, oh, she's about to backslide and cause a scene and just goes to eating her caviar. And this is where I snatch back my feeling sorry for Eva, because it's just like, you know who your mama is, and you didn't even attempt to talk her down from going to do what you knew she was going to go do. But whatever. So, um, let me see. So, we see um Leslie approaches Vernon, and Vernon is just like, I don't have time for this. She's just like, it'll only take a minute. She says, can you please have the inspector withdraw the order shutting down the construction? And Vernon says she has herself to blame for this construction being halted. She says, not as bogus, you doing X, Y, and Z, whatever, whatever. He tells her she doesn't get to play the victim after all the noise, after all that noise that the construction. She tells him she He tells her she doesn't get to play the victim because all the noise and construction has been torturing Anita. She tells him that you've been you've been trying to push me out of Fairmont and using Anita as a way to justify his actions, which is low. He says, coming from the queen of hitting below the belt. She complains that she's losing money in overages for every minute that she can't do construction or whatever. And he tells her, well, if you want to recoup your money, just sell the property. And she says, um, the more you try to get rid of me, the more determined she is to stay. He reminds her of how she got the money, and blowing it away on frivolous things ain't it. She says financing a free clinic and buying a house isn't frivolous things. And he tells her, but that remodeling is. Um, and yeah, he tells her the remodeling is frivolous. And then he mentions the statues, the of Shamar Moore and Idris Elba and all this other stuff. And she's just like, I got a Morris Chestnut one coming or whatever. Um, he tells her, the only thing I think that you truly enjoy is the ability to annoy and alienate others. She says, well, because you guys were so welcoming to her, she must have missed that part. And it's just like, Leslie, you started this with them. You cannot be the villain. You can't be the villain and then act like the victim in the same breath. You came to town to, one, destroy his daughter's life, which you did. Now you are set on annoying them at every turn that you can. And now, when they are hitting you back where your money is, or hitting you back where it is, fair about is turn play, or whatever that saying is. Like, you are getting what you deserve. You First of all, you're not even getting what you deserve. You haven't even gotten a fraction of what you deserve. But they are playing a game just like you have been playing a game, and now you want to act like the victim. You have done nothing to deserve to be welcomed by these people in this community. Because again, you came to town on a revenge trip, and now you're mad that they're not lying down and taking what you have been dishing for them. So miss me with that. Um, he tells her they have been honest. They have been honest, which is something that she hasn't been, and she has made revenge a design choice, and it won't do anyone any good in the end. So we see Ted and Kat. They are at the coffee shop. Kat wishes that she could have seen Anita, but she understands that a lot of people are going to be at the house, and she wants to give her her space, and she doesn't want to stress her out. He tells her that, I saw her, and she's still Anita. He tells her, mentions about her moving in, and he wishes that he would have found out from her, but he understands the distance between them. But he now understands the distance that's between them. She says it wasn't on purpose. He says it's not. He tells her it's on him for letting things fall by the wayside. And this is him attempting to catch up. Kat wants to. This is when Kat says, she wants to go home, but she knows that there are going to be people there, and she doesn't want to add any more stress to Anita, so she's going to wait to go home. He tells her. She tells him that initially moving in was all about her own needs, but now she sees that she can help them. And they joke about her trying to help Rowena in the kitchen. She tells him that she likes being there. And he's just like, I like the side of her. And she says, oh, the one that isn't a self centered princess. And then they joke about that. She talks about her spending a lot of time hating Leslie and Eva. And he tells her she had every right to feel neglected, and he made building a relationship with Eva a priority, and not he made building a relationship with Eva a priority and not to her benefit. Not to her benefit, and he apologizes. Kat thanks him for that. Because she was upset, she felt like people were gaslighting her about what she saw. Um, uh, Let me see. Yeah, she felt like, people were gaslighting her about what she saw, and it means the world to her that he admitted that he was putting Eva first. He says he has a lot to make up with Eva, but it's not right that he stopped spending time with her. She tells him she tells him she will always think that he's wrong for letting Eva get away with destroying his family. But Grant's illness has reminded her that life is too short to hold resentment on the people that you love. He gives her her flowers for what she's doing with Anita, and tells her she's the most loving and dedicated person he knows. She tells him that he can't take all the blame. When they were working together, it was easier for them to communicate, and she didn't think that she would have to fight to communicate with him. And for better or worse, good or bad, she's just like him. And he tells her, no, you're better than me. And he's going to be more present with her. So for this scene, initially, I was happy that, they he talked to her or whatever, but at the same time, I feel like he still didn't acknowledge that she was right all along, which I feel like is what she needs to hear to not even get over it, but just know that you have her back. Because at the end of the day, you, Ted, and Nicole don't have Kat's back the way that she has their back. And I think that's an issue. But baby steps. We gonna make it work. So we see Jacob, he's meeting Grayson in the alley, and Grayson is talking about he didn't like how he approached him about the whole Max situation, and um they want Grayson Jacob's like, he wants to know all about the organization. Grayson is just like, well, you go first. Who helped Max? And he was just like a friend, and he was just like, you have people in high places that can help you if the ish hit the fan. But the only person I have is my mother, and she's not in the position to help. Jacob brings up Ashley, and he was just like, no, I won't. I'm not gonna put her in this. And Jacob is just like, good. Now you need to leave her alone. She's smart, and she gonna figure it out. Jacob says he wishes he knew who they worked for so that he could figure out a way to get them out of that. And Grayson is just like, he doesn't know. He don't know nothing. So we see Naomi. She's at the club with Bill, and they're catching up, and they talking about Anita and how she's doing, and then he's talking about how he's glad that the girls didn't inherit his gene. Not his gene, but the BRCA gene, and Naomi is looking oh snap or whatever, being obvious or whatever. um he starts to talk about his mortality, and she's just like, I don't like when he talk about that. But he's just like, it's the only thing that we can't fight is father time. He says he's happy that he has that he's happy that, if he's not going to be here, that at least his girls has partners that will be there for him. And she says, we can't count on that. He asks about Jacob. She plays it off. He doesn't like that Jacob is gone, and he's just like, I've never heard of I've never heard of the police force sending their detective away on training or whatever, and he wants to, get some more info on it. And she's just like, you know, no, it's okay. She gets the message that Anita, because Vernon had texted the whole family that Anita was coming home, so she shows it to Bill, and she changes the subject or whatever. So then we see Naomi. She's at the hospital, and she's talking to Ashley. Ashley's just like, oh, Anita's not here, and she was just like, no, I wanted to talk to you. And she talks to her about the gene, and then Jacob being on. She's just Naomi is just overwhelmed or whatever. And Ashley is just like, she keeps hearing about her family talking about how they're happy that Naomi didn't get the gene, and she knows that she did. So Naomi is apologizing for putting her in the middle. Ashley is just like, it's not about putting me in the middle. Your family is there; they can help you through this. Naomi is just like, she can't tell her family before she tells Jacob, and since he's undercover, she can't tell him now. So she's just gonna be quiet until after the case. And Anita's out of the woods, and it's just like, girl, annoying. Ashley understands, and she says, once Jacob comes home, and Naomi is just like, she'll reevaluate. And Ashley is just like, Naomi, and she'll just like, I'm telling you a promise that I can keep. And she's just like, okay, fine. So then we see Naomi, she gets a call from Isaiah, and he asks her about the burner phone that Jacob got her. So then we see Grayson, he comes to the hospital, and he thanks Ashley for being there for him or whatever. So that was the episode. So that was the about the whole familial thing that I was talking about. We saw like a lot of people with their family. So we saw what's his name? Isaiah with Darlene. We saw Anita with Vernon and Sharon. We saw Bill with Naomi. We saw Peaches, Eva, and Leslie. So it was just like a real familial episode today. We saw Ted and Kat together. So that's what I meant about a familiar. Sorry, a familiar episode. But it was a good episode. This review is getting long. I didn't realize it was this long, but yeah, it was a good episode. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, turning on your post notifications. Get so you know whenever I post. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.